So this brings us now on to the last block of the morning, which is the management of risk and performance, and we've got the operational report. I have to say, and I'm sure I wasn't alone in saying that I found it very readable, so thank you very much for that. And I'm going to pass the baton, if I may, to Berenice.
Thanks very much, Helen. Although there's two reports there, one on the patient first and one on restoration and recovery with winter planning, I'll just weave the comments into one update. I'll take it that everybody has read the reports. The important thing is to say is our A&E performance has been really positive and linked to the patient first review that was actually completed on our emergency department and the flow through our urgent care pathways. I think that absolutely coincides. So it was positive that we got 94.72% performance, and our year to date it's 93.98, and we were 15th out the country. But just, I don't know how competitive you are. I just wanted to report it was really good last week that we were actually best performance across the region, 1 out of 40, and 5th in the country. So, you know, people do see that as a bit of a performance metric, but actually the outcome of that good performance is good patient care because people are getting through our pathways quickly. So that's really fantastic for me. We have had a reduction in overall attendances, but there has been an increase in acuity of patients that have been coming through. Our hospital handover, we've certainly had some challenges, and certainly in the weeks with regards to IT issues and building works that have been ongoing have prevented some of those handovers happening so as streamlined as they should be. So some further work to do around that. And just want to highlight the mental health pathways because that has been escalated as part of Joined Up Derbyshire, that there are a number of out of area placements now and also pressure on our CAM services, which could impact on our ED and certainly our attendances. And we've seen a little bit of that happen this week. With regards to the patient first, Hal very helpfully highlighted to us the recruitment earlier on, but we've also already recruited one additional consultant, and we do have some of the first cohort of middle grades already on site and going through their kind of supernumerary supervision for the next month or so to embed them into the emergency department as well. So that's going to be really positive, and we hope to have most of those all recruited by February. The one area that still remains a concern is around the pediatric pathways. And again, we have recruited half of those. So we do have kind of 12-hour cover, but we need to get to 24-hour cover. And we also need to look at our logistics in the department to support our pediatric pathways. Positive reported from the integrated care yesterday was around the recruitment of acute care practitioners who were able to rotate and support into our ED department. So they've over-recruited, and that's going to be really helpful and certainly address some of the gaps that we had in our patient first. Just want to highlight on the improvement of the same-day emergency care pathways, both medical and surgical, that we've seen on average about 120 patients coming through our medical pathways and about 55 coming through our surgical pathways, and the conversion rate's 49%. So we're seeing and discharging an awful lot of patients, which is really helping with our winter pressure plans. And Lee referred to the acute frailty work that's ongoing at the moment, that we've seen a great increase to about 30 patients a week on average going through our frailty pathways, and we're looking to obviously increase that even further. That's really positive and better outcomes again for those patients. And the final point on that is just to mention our length of stay, where again, we're achieving 3.5 against our target of 3.75, and our 21 length of stay, 21 days length of stay even, we are sitting at about 38 against a target of 42, and just bearing in mind that 9 of those patients are stroke patients. So that again, the teams are doing really well, and it's what I've observed is the good relationships aligned with Joined Up Care Derbyshire, that our discharge pathways, there is a real focus on making sure that we actually achieve the right to reside, which is the new guidance that's come in, which is helping us. With regards to the recovery plans, obviously we've been met with a few challenges, and we've heard today already about the pressures that we've had on ITU, and we've had to redeploy staff to support our ITU capacity, and we've had to escalate that capacity, and that has certainly impacted on some of our bed base and availability. That said, we're still achieving really well against many of our plans that are in place. We've got some pressure on outpatients, we've got some pressure on MRI scans and our day case, and part of the day case is as a result of having to convert one of our ward areas to accommodate additional inpatients as well as day case, but we are continuing to do a review on that to increase the capacity. Outpatients, the challenges that we've been seeing on that, I think the positive message is to see that we are starting to increase again on some of the virtual assessments, and we're hitting about 30% now. That had dropped down to 27% for our new outpatients and 60% on the actual follow-ups. The board possibly have heard about concerns around utilising the independent sector and changes in contracts, and there's a new framework about to come out so that we're continuing to use that independent sector to the greatest capacity that we possibly can. We've invested in supporting the independent sector throughout our recovery plan, so we absolutely need to continue doing that. On the actual pathways themselves, just to alert the board that we are looking at ophthalmology, ENT and orthopaedics, and there's an event on the 15th of December where NHS I and E are supporting us with a piece of work to do a deep dive across the whole of Derbyshire. So we'll look at improved clinical pathways across both UHDB and ourselves. So we're really quite excited, and there's a lot of interest in those pieces of work. And the other areas is around respiratory and dermatology that we're doing a further review, and obviously you'll hear further updates around the stroke work that's ongoing. The other areas, just to highlight that cancellations have been minimal. We have got about 50 patients a week that aren't being booked because of the changes that we made to our estate, but the on-the-day cancellations are absolutely minimal, and then mainly down to patient decisions on the day, or that patients are unwell and unable to attend. So that's absolutely, again, excellent compared to a number of neighbouring hospitals. With regards to the winter plan, it is absolutely intertwined with the COVID response, but workforce is again the limiting factor. But it is positive to be able to report that pharmacy, therapies, and pathology have started with have managed to recruit people to be able to support some of the increased activity that's coming through. Pathology are able to now start being able to provide 24/7 for the swabbing service, not every day, but they are starting to increase that and hope to have that in place by January, which is great. We have done some redesign and implemented some hot clinics around respiratory, cardiology and dermatology, which again really helps with that same day emergency care and the redesign at the front door. And the other area to just mention is around the NHS 111. First, we commenced that on the 2nd of November. The activity has been minimal to ED, but we actually see that as a positive outcome, because what's happened is there's a clinical review of more patients, and they're actually managing to deflect a lot of those patients before they even get here. So I've asked for some of that data to be pulled down, and we can present that certainly at the next meeting. Finally, just to say that we have started planning for Christmas and New Year period, just to make sure that our 7-day services are available, and we don't lose sight of everybody over that 4-day and 3-day bank holiday. Just happy to take any questions, Helen.
done, Berenice. Very comprehensive. Alison, please.
Thank you, Helen. I just wanted to acknowledge all the hard work that's going on across the exec team and all the teams throughout the hospital, and just really to commend the whole team on their agility of problem solving and being ready for the next issue, and putting plans in place at pace. Because, as I said in my other update, it's a very interesting time at the moment, and just the agility of problem solving is impressive. So just wanted to say thank you.
Thanks, Alison.
Thank you, Alison. Keith. I go to Jane, and maybe Keith, if your hand's up, you could be ready to come off mute. Jeremy, sorry.
Okay, thanks. I'll echo what Alison just said, and thank you very much, Berenice. I just wanted a bit of clarification about the staffing issue in ED, because in the written report, and you alluded to it, it says there's focus on recruitment to 30 middle grade doctors. Does that imply that we've got 30 vacancies, or is this just part of regular turnover of middle grade staff? I was just slightly alarmed at the idea that there might be 30 vacancies there.
No, my understanding from that, Jeremy, and Tony might want to come in with this, is that a paper was brought to the board and the exec team earlier in the year to bolster up the requirements for ED. So they'd look to see what the gaps were and how they could support ED functioning in a better way. And certainly given the two pathways that we're obviously delivering within ED. So it was additional posts that were put in place and secured. But Tony, do you want to, I don't know if you want to come in,
yeah,
that's my understanding.
Absolutely, Berenice. Jeremy, you will recall a few months ago the board made some key investments to support our plans. At the time, we'd done that long journey and moved up to fully recruited up to 20 middle grades, and then through wave one, we learned by pulling all the juniors from off their training, etc. We had a much more robust rota if it was equivalent to 30. So the board agreed to invest up to 30. So we've moved from a full complement of 20, created the gap of the additional 10, and are now in the process of bringing new people in to cover those vacancies.
Right, okay, that's helpful. My anxiety was that we had 30 vacancies.
Yeah.
Which didn't sound good. Thank you.
Yeah. And Jeremy, I will also add that we are doing a piece of work on capacity and demand, just to make sure that the staffing levels are matched up to when the demand is coming through, because that was done previously, but it's quite a while ago, so we need to just revisit that as well.
Jane, please.
Thank you, Helen. I just wanted to comment on the Patient First report and the fact that we've now got that real focus on paediatrics. I think it's really important. It's an issue that we've had for a very long time, and I know some of the solutions is about the environment and can't be resolved quickly, but I do think it's really important that we have that focus and we continue to drive that forwards, because it has been with us for some time. So thank you, Berenice, for the focus on that.
Thanks.
Keith, your hand's still up. Do you want to come in?
Can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Sorry, I was mute last time, but you clearly couldn't hear me. Sorry, I redialed in. I just a little bit to add to what Alison said. I think given the huge amount that's going on and everything that's coming in through the door, Berenice, I just thought the quality of the reports and the conciseness of your recent report was absolutely outstanding. I know you haven't had your feet under your desk for very long, metaphorically, but I understand how much you're juggling at the moment, and I just thought that was the easiest to understand and the most concise view that I've heard recently, and it was really helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Well, we've also got Mike, please.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit repetitious now, but I said something similar at the end of the Finance and Performance Committee last week. It's really good to hear our executives coming and fronting up, and I'm not hearing excuses from these guys. I've sat on lots of boards, both as NEDs and execs, where you hear excuses, and if ever there was an environment where excuses would be acceptable, this is probably it. But we're not getting that. We're getting good, clear reports. The board papers are getting in a better shape. And with all the shit, if you'll pardon my French, that's going on in the world, it's really good to see our team stepping up. And, you know, we should be very grateful that we've got these guys who are tired and stressed, but yet giving it their all. And it's very humbling. So well done, guys. And apologies for the language, knowing that's been recorded.
We'll take it as a technical term.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm not sure that there's a lot to say by way of conclusion, other than to say it was a terrific report in terms of how you've given us that clarity of what's going on the trust, Berenice. The fabulous performance being turned in by teams right across the trust, as colleagues have said, is outstanding. And I think I'd just like to add a further note of thanks and appreciation also to our colleagues in the system, because I'm sure we could turn in a lot of the performance we have, but you know, some of those results where we're doing quite as well as we are in such very difficult circumstances is all through reflection on their support and cooperation. So we'll note, in addition to our heartfelt thanks to all our colleagues in the trust, our appreciation for the support of colleagues across the system. So thank you for that. Now we're on the last lap, colleagues. We've got a number of consent items, and I haven't had any advance notice of anybody wishing to raise. Oh no, I think I might have had. Have I had an advance notice from you, Jeremy, that you wish to raise something with respect to the consent item? You're on mute. You're on mute, Jeremy.
Said it. Beg your pardon. A couple of things very quickly. Firstly, on the minutes, I think we ought to record that it was on Teams, just so that future historians, when they look at this, they can see what we were doing. And I think the same applies to the private minutes as well. And the second point was about the IPR. We've had some exchange of emails about this, and it occurs to me to have an item on the IPR about COVID activity. And I know Berenice is on the case there, but I thought it'd be worth just pointing that here as well.
Thank you very much. Is that a new hand, Keith, or an old hand?